The Wounded Stranger. The sun was low over the dry hills of Zalari 4, casting long shadows over the rocks. Zeri, an alien healer with smooth silver skin and glowing violet eyes, walked carefully through the dusty land. She was collecting rare herbs, the kind that only grew where the wind screamed and the ground cracked. But something stopped her steps. A strange smell. Metal, smoke, and blood. She turned quickly, her heart racing. No creature on this planet bled like that. Slowly she moved closer to the scent. Her eyes narrowed as she saw the edge of a dark boot sticking out from behind a large rock. It was not Zalari made. It was human. Zeri's heart pounded in her chest. A human? Here? Alone? That was impossible. No humans came this deep into the forbidden zone. This land was cursed, or so they believed. She crouched low and carefully crept forward. And there he was. A human male lay still, half conscious, his clothes torn and body bruised. Blood poured from a deep wound across his side. His skin was pale, and sweat covered his face. But the most terrifying part was this. His wound glowed faintly. Blue. Zeri froze. No wound should glow. Every instinct told her to walk away. Leave him. Report it. But something inside her wouldn't let her move. She stepped closer. The man groaned softly, his lips moving. She leaned in. He whispered one word. Her name. Zeri. Her blood ran cold. She had never met a human before. Never told her name to one. How did he know? Her hands trembled, but she pulled out a small pouch of healing dust. She dipped her fingers in it and reached for the wound. Then something happened. The wound pulsed. A flash of light spread under his skin. Zeri gasped and pulled her hand back. The blue light followed her touch like a magnet. Her fingers had not even touched his skin. It was reacting to her. She looked around. No one was watching. She could still run. But the man moaned again. He was dying. Zeri made a decision she knew could cost her everything. She placed her hand gently on the wound, and the world changed. A warm, humming energy flowed up her arm. The wound seemed to breathe, its edges pulling together as if trying to heal. But it wasn't just healing, it was responding. It curled toward her hand like it remembered her. Suddenly, his hand shot up and grabbed her wrist. Zeri screamed and tried to pull away, but his grip was strong. Too strong for someone almost dead. His eyes opened, bright, sharp green, and filled with something she didn't expect. Recognition. You came, he whispered, just like before. Before? Zeri stared at him, her heart racing. I don't know you, she said softly. He blinked, breathing hard. But I know you. I saw you. In the dreams. In the fire. Then his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed again. Zeri slowly pulled her hand free. The glowing wound was smaller now, but still not normal. Her palm itched. She looked down and gasped. A strange mark glowed on her skin. A glowing glyph. Old and ancient. One she had only seen in the ruins of her lost people. No one believed the glyphs were real. They were supposed to be fairy tales, dead language, forgotten stories. But now, one was burned into her flesh. Because of him. She looked back at the human. He was breathing, but only just. And she had a choice. Leave him here. Or hide him. Zeri looked up at the red sky. She already knew her answer. With great effort, she dragged the human toward her hidden shelter inside the mountain cave. Every few steps, the wound would glow again, as if guiding them, as if leading them home. She didn't know who he was. She didn't know how he knew her name. But she was sure of one thing. This was no ordinary wound, and this was no ordinary human. The forbidden touch. The cave was dark and cold, hidden deep in the jagged cliffs of Zalari 4. Only a few knew it even existed. Zeri had used it for years as her private healing place. where she studied plants, crystals, and energy flows far away from the noise of her people. But now someone else was inside, a human. He lay on the stone bed, still unconscious. His shirt was cut open, the wound on his side still glowing faintly blue. It didn't bleed like a normal injury anymore. It pulsed like it had a heartbeat of its own. Zeri stared at him from across the cave, arms crossed, uncertain what to do next. Nothing about this made sense. She had touched thousands of wounds in her life. She had healed warriors torn by plasma weapons, children burned by star fires, even creatures poisoned by black rot, but she had never seen a wound react like it knew her, and she had never seen a human up close before, only from distance, only in fear. Her people believed humans were cursed, powerful, untouchable, and yet she had touched him, and the mark still burned on her palm. She looked at it again, her skin glowing softly where the ancient glyph had appeared, a curved line, a circle, and a flame. She remembered it from an old story, a forgotten tale passed down by her grandmother, before the elders banned such talk. The mark of the bonded flame. In the legend, it meant a link, a tie between two souls across bloodlines. It was said to appear only when something world-changing was about to begin, but Zeri didn't believe in such stories. Until now. She slowly walked over to him. His chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. His face was pale, lips dry. He needed water. She carefully lifted a small cup to his lips and tilted it gently. He coughed but drank. Then he whispered something again. Her name, Zeri. She froze. He said it again. Zeri. Help me. She pulled back, heart pounding. No human should know her name. Not unless... No. She shook her head. It was impossible. She leaned closer. Who are you? But he didn't answer. Suddenly, his body jerked. A sharp gasp escaped his throat and his back arched off the bed. Zeri grabbed his shoulders. Stay still. Then it happened. The blue light shot out from the wound, wrapping around her hands like vines. She screamed but didn't let go. Her body trembled as energy passed through her. Visions, voices, fire. She saw a battlefield, alien skies burning with war, ships falling, people running. Then she saw herself, or someone who looked exactly like her, standing beside a human warrior with the same eyes as this one. They were not fighting each other. They were fighting together. The vision faded. Zehri gasped and pulled her hands back. Her knees gave out and she dropped to the floor breathless. What was that? Her heart pounded like a drum. The mark on her palm glowed brighter now. She crawled back to the wall, shocked. The human lay still again, but this time his wound had changed. It was smaller, closing, healing, because of her touch. She didn't use healing dust. She didn't chant a spell. Just her hand, just her presence, and the wound had responded. Why? She whispered. Outside the cave, thunder rumbled. A storm was coming, and maybe something else too. Suddenly she heard a sound. Footsteps. Outside the cave. Zeri quickly grabbed her small plasma blade and pressed herself against the wall. Her eyes scanned the entrance. But it wasn't a soldier. It was a creature, four-legged with black fur and 3 red eyes. A hunter beast. It sniffed the air and growled low. It had picked up the human's blood. She had no choice. Zeri raised her blade and charged. The fight was fast but loud. The creature tried to leap, but she rolled under it and slashed its leg. It turned and knocked her down, biting her arm. She screamed but stabbed deep into its neck. The beast collapsed. Blood dripped onto the cave floor. She sat there, breathing hard, the blade still shaking in her hand. Then she turned and saw the human awake. His green eyes watched her, calm but intense. You saved me, again, he whispered. Zeri didn't answer. She didn't know if she had saved him or doomed them both. But one thing was clear. This was no normal man. And the wound on his body wasn't just a wound. It was a message. A forgotten message that her touch had unlocked. And someone somewhere might be watching. The message in the skin. The cave was quiet again, but Zeri's mind was loud. She sat across from the human, her arms wrapped around her knees, watching him as he leaned back against the stone wall. His wound no longer bled. In fact, it had sealed over, leaving behind something strange. A mark, not a scar. A glyph, just like the one on her hand. She stood up slowly and stepped toward him. "What is that on your chest?" she asked, her voice low. He looked down and touched the glowing lines on his skin. "I was hoping you could tell me," he said. Zeri frowned. "That symbol, it's not human." "I know," he said. "But I'm human, and yet this is here. It appeared after you touched me." She hesitated. Then she showed him her palm. His eyes widened. "You have it too." The two marks were almost the same, like pieces of a larger puzzle. Zeri sat down beside him, keeping a small distance. "Tell me the truth. How do you know my name?" The man nodded slowly. "My name is Kyle. I'm from Earth. I came on a survey mission, a small team. We weren't supposed to land here, but something pulled our ship down, a signal." "What kind of signal?" He shook his head. "I don't know. I just know it had a name. Your name." Zeri's skin tingled. "That's not possible." Kyle looked directly at her. "In my dreams I saw a woman who looked like you. She called out to me through fire, told me to come here, told me I had to find her. That it was the only way to stop something terrible." Zeri's chest tightened. "That can't be real." "I thought I was losing my mind," he whispered. "But then I woke up, on this planet, wounded, dying, and you were the first thing I saw." Zeri didn't know what to say. He continued, "And this," he pointed to the glyph on his chest. "This burned itself into my skin the moment you touched me." She looked closely. The pattern wasn't random. It was ancient script. Forgotten, long ago. Her grandmother had shown her similar symbols when she was a child. Symbols from a time before her people were ruled by the council. Before the wars, before the silence. Then Zeri noticed something else. The glyph on Kyle's chest was incomplete. A curve was missing. A flame symbol half-formed. She raised her palm and turned it to face his chest. The shapes matched. Her mark fit into his, like two puzzle pieces. She gasped and pulled back. Kyle saw it too. "They're connected." Zeri stepped away. "This is not right. This is forbidden. A bond like this between alien and human, it goes against everything my kind believes." Kyle stared at her. "Then why is it happening?" She couldn't answer. She moved toward the cave wall and touched the stone. Her mind raced. The glyphs, the fire, the visions, and now Kyle. A human who seemed to know her without knowing her. Could the old stories be true? Her people once told of a sacred flame, a chosen human and a chosen Zalari, bonded by destiny to protect the balance between stars. But that legend was buried, erased from all teachings. She turned to Kyle. "Do you feel anything?" He nodded. "Yes, I feel like I've known you forever. I feel pain, but not from the wound. From something deep inside me, like it's waking up." Zeri's eyes softened. "That's what scares me." Just then, a loud crack sounded outside. She rushed to the entrance and peered out. A glowing drone flew over the valley, scanning. Its red lights blinked. Then, a sharp tone echoed. "They found you," she whispered. "The enforcers are scanning for high-energy signatures." Kyle stood up, swaying slightly. "Because of the wound?" "No," she said. "Because of the bond." She grabbed a small pack and threw it over her shoulder. "We need to leave. Now." If they discover you're here with me, they'll execute us both. Kyle reached for her hand. Their marks glowed again, bright, burning, alive. I'm ready, he said. She hesitated, then took his hand. As they ran into the stormy night, the cave behind them faded into the darkness, but something had already awakened, and now there was no turning back. The hunters arrive. Lightning flashed across the sky as Zeri and Kyle ran through the rocky paths of Zalari 4. The wind howled like a wild creature, lifting dust and dead leaves into the air. The glowing marks on their skin flickered with each heartbeat like living lights guiding them through the night. Zeri led the way, her feet moving fast and sure. She knew these lands well, but even she was afraid now, not of the storm, but of what was coming behind it. Galactic enforcers, the Council's loyal hunters, they never showed mercy. And now they were here, searching for a human and a traitor alien, with a forbidden bond. Zeri stopped near a ridge and pulled Kyle behind a rock. Below they could see a group of dark shapes moving in formation. Drones hovered above them, scanning the ground with red beams. Kyle whispered, "They're tracking us." Zeri nodded. "The marks. They give off energy. Energy the Council hasn't seen in 100 years. Why are they afraid of it?" She looked him in the eyes. "Because it's power they can't control." Suddenly one of the drones turned toward their direction. It let out a shrieking alarm. "They found us!" Zeri shouted. The rocks exploded beside them. Kyle ducked, covering his head. A blast wave threw them off their feet. Dust filled the air. 3 enforcers appeared from the smoke, armored and armed with plasma spears. Their helmets glowed with red lines, their movements cold and machine-like. "Zeri of Zalari," one of them spoke through a speaker. "You are charged with violation of Species Contact Law 17B and harboring a Class Red human. Step away from the creature." "He's not a creature," she shouted. The enforcers aimed their weapons. "Surrender him now, or be erased." Kyle coughed and stood up, weak but defiant. "You don't have to protect me," he said. Zeri stood in front of him. "Yes, I do." Without warning, one of the enforcers fired, but before the bolt could hit, something strange happened. Kyle's chest glowed. The glyph lit up like fire. A wave of energy exploded from his body, pushing the bolt aside. The enforcers were thrown back like leaves in a storm. Even Zeri stumbled, shocked. The air around Kyle pulsed and shimmered. The glyph was awake, alive, and protecting them. Kyle gasped, his body glowing from within. "What was that?" Zeri ran to him and steadied him. "Your wound. It's not a wound. It's a gate, a defense system, ancient technology." "I didn't do anything," he said. "You didn't have to," she whispered. "It's responding to danger. It's protecting the bond." Another enforcer rose from the ground, weapon raised again. But before he could fire, Zeri threw a crystal from her pouch. It exploded in light, blinding them. "Run!" she yelled. They took off into the forest valley. Trees bent in the strong wind, and the rain started falling hard. Behind them, the enforcers regrouped. "Target is changing," one of them said. "Energy signature has grown stronger." Another replied, "Activate full force retrieval. The human must be taken, alive or dead." Far away, deep inside the council chamber, a red alert blinked on a black screen. A tall figure watched it, hands clasped behind his back. "Show me the mark," he ordered. A hologram appeared. The glyph. The mark of the bonded flame. The man's eyes narrowed. "So it has returned," he whispered. He turned to his assistant. "Send word to the High Command. If this bond survives, everything we built will fall." Back in the forest, Zeri and Kyle found a moment of quiet beneath a rock ledge. Both were soaked. Both were shaking. Kyle looked at her, voice low. "They're never going to stop, are they?" Zeri met his eyes. "No, not until they break the bond." Kyle leaned forward. "Then we don't let them." She smiled slightly. In that moment, under the dark sky and rain, two different beings, one human, one alien, shared something stronger than fear, a purpose, and far in the distance the glyphs on their bodies glowed together in perfect sync. The wound that fights back. The rain poured all night. Zeri and Kyle stayed hidden under the stone ledge, deep in the forest of Zelari 4. Every sound made them alert. Drones passed overhead sometimes, their red lights blinking between the trees. The enforcers were close. But something else was happening, something inside Kyle. He sat with his back against the stone wall, breathing fast. His hands trembled. The mark on his chest pulsed again and again, blue, then gold, then red. Zeri watched him carefully. She had seen pain before, but not like this. "It's getting worse," he said. "The wound, it's moving." She moved closer. "Show me." He slowly opened his shirt. Her breath caught in her throat. The glyph wasn't just glowing anymore, it was spreading. Lines of light were crawling outward from the mark like veins made of fire, across his chest, over his shoulder, down his arm. "This shouldn't be happening," she whispered. "I can feel it growing," he said. "Like it's alive, like it's learning." Zeri placed her hand over part of the mark. At once the light responded, pulsing beneath her palm like a heartbeat. Then, images, visions, a battle, a red planet, ships crashing, humans and Zelari side by side, surrounded by enemies. One warrior, her face exactly like Zeri's, held a human man by the hand as they stood before a giant burning door. "Together we seal it. Our bond will become the gate." Then it was gone. Kyle gasped. "Did you see that?" Zeri nodded. "It's not just a memory. It's a message. A warning. This has happened before." Kyle looked down at his glowing arm. "What am I becoming?" Looked him in the eye. "A key. A weapon. Maybe both." Suddenly a voice shouted through the forest. "Zeri, you cannot run forever." It was a woman's voice, strong, familiar. Zeri's eyes widened. Commander Tail, a tall figure, stepped out from the trees, silver armor, crimson cape, plasma blade in her hand. Tail, Zeri's former mentor. "You were our best healer," Tail said. "Now look at you, hiding with a human, touching forbidden marks. Do you even know what you've done?" Zeri stepped forward. "I saved a life." Tail raised her blade. "You doomed yourself. That human carries a gate to destruction. You think the bond is sacred, but it's a weapon. The last time it formed, worlds burned." Kyle struggled to his feet. "I'm not a weapon." Tail's eyes narrowed. "Then let me end it, before it becomes one." She lunged. Zeri blocked her blade with her own. Sparks flew. The two women clashed hard. They were both fast, skilled, but Tal was stronger. Kyle tried to help, but collapsed again, grabbing his chest. The glyph exploded in light. A shockwave burst out. Tal was thrown back into a tree, crashing hard. Zeri turned to Kyle. "Are you all right?" He gritted his teeth. "It's like the wound knows when I'm in danger. It protects me, even if I don't tell it to." Zeri helped him stand. "You're changing, becoming something more. The bond is rewriting you." Kyle looked afraid. "I don't want to hurt people." "You didn't," she said. "You defended us." Tyle groaned, rising again. "You fools. Don't you see? If the bond reaches its final stage, the council won't stop. They'll send harvesters. They'll burn this planet just to stop you." Zeri froze. "The harvesters? Those are only used in total war." Tail nodded. "That's how serious this is." Zeri looked at Kyle, then at the sky. The wound was no longer just a wound. It was evolving, fighting back, and now, their time, was running out. That night, as they escaped deeper into the planet's core, Kyle's body began to hum with quiet energy. Not fire, not rage, something more controlled, more ancient. Zeri laid her hand over his once more. The glyphs aligned. For a moment, their thoughts became one. They saw stars, and a locked gate floating between galaxies, its seal broken. The wound had opened a path, and something was coming through. The memory of stars. Deep beneath the surface of Zalari 4, far from the drones and enforcers, Zeri and Kyle hid inside an ancient cavern. The walls were smooth and glowing softly with natural crystals. Strange symbols were carved into the stone, symbols that looked just like the ones on Kyle's chest. This place, Zeri whispered, was built by my ancestors. A hidden temple of the bonded flame. Kyle sat quietly, his fingers tracing the lines on the wall. His body still glowed faintly, but it no longer hurt. It felt stable now, like the power inside him had calmed. "How did you find this place?" he asked. "My grandmother told me the stories," Zeri said. "When I was young, I didn't believe her. I thought the bond was just a legend. Now I know it was real all along." Kyle looked up at her. "Why would they hide it?" "Because the council feared it," she said. The bond between human and Zalari was powerful. So powerful that when the war ended, they erased every record of it. They didn't want anyone to remember the truth. Kyle stood and walked toward a large circular door made of black stone. On it, 2 glyphs were carved, one human, one Zalari, connected in a glowing arc of light. He reached out. The wound on his chest responded. The glyph lit up. So did Zeri's palm. The door began to hum. Zeri stepped beside him, placing her hand next to his. And suddenly, the past returned. A blinding flash. They were no longer in the cave. They stood in the middle of a memory. A memory of stars. They floated in space, surrounded by glowing planets, massive starships, and thousands of soldiers. A battle was happening. Humans and Zalari warriors fighting side by side against a monstrous enemy of shadows and teeth. Zeri gasped. "This is the ancient war." They saw 2 figures standing in the center of the battlefield, a human general and a Zalari queen. Their hands were joined. On their bodies, the same glyphs glowed bright. Then they spoke together. "The bond will end the war. Together, we will lock the darkness away." The scene shifted. A giant black gate, bigger than a moon, floated in space. It was made of dark crystal and lightning. The human and Zalari pressed their joined marks into the gate, a flash of energy. The darkness screamed. The gate shut. The galaxy was saved, and the bond was sealed. But then, betrayal. The council turned on the bonded pair, called them dangerous, claimed the bond would return the darkness. They erased their names, burned their history, ordered the bond never to be formed again. The memory faded. Kyle and Zeri fell to their knees as the vision ended. They were back in the cavern, breathing hard, shaking. Kyle looked at her, eyes wide. "We're not the first." Zeri nodded. "But we might be the last." Kyle clenched his fists. "That gate, it's opening again, isn't it?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The bond wasn't just a connection, it was a key. And Kyle's wound was the lock. Zeri stood. "If we do nothing, the darkness will return. If we complete the bond, we might stop it again. But the council will kill us before that happens," Kyle said. "Then we can't run anymore," she replied. "We have to fight." Kyle looked down at his chest. The glyph burned brighter now, stronger, sharper. Then he looked up at her. "I'll fight," he said, "but only if you stand with me." Zeri stepped forward and pressed her palm to his. "I already am." The symbols pulsed, the stars remembered. And somewhere across the galaxy, the ancient gate began to crack. The final reaction. The sky above Zalari 4 burned red. Warships hovered in the clouds and thunder rumbled like the growl of an angry god. The council had sent everything, drones, enforcers, even the feared harvesters. The order was clear. Destroy the bond. Kill the human. Erase the flame. But deep in the ancient valley, Kyle and Zeri stood side by side, unafraid. The symbols on their skin glowed like fire. Around them, the stones hummed. The energy of the temple had awakened. The bond was almost complete. Zeri turned to him. Once we finish it, there's no going back. Kyle looked into her eyes. I never wanted this. But now, I can't imagine my life without it. She nodded slowly. Then they joined hands. The glyphs on their bodies surged with light, blinding and beautiful. A circle of energy formed around them, lifting them into the air. The ancient symbols carved in the stone walls lit up in waves, one by one, all across the temple, and in the skies above, the gate opened. A massive tear in space. Darkness poured out, clouds of black, twisting shadows with glowing red eyes. The same darkness from the visions. The same force sealed away long ago. The enforcers fired at the sky, but their weapons did nothing. Commander Tail watched in horror. They were telling the truth. The darkness is real. Inside the temple, Kyle screamed in pain. The energy was too strong. His body shook. The wound on his chest burst open, light pouring out of it like a sun. Zeri held him tighter. Stay with me. I can't hold it. Yes, you can, she said. Together. Then her mark glowed, golden white, purer than ever before. Their bodies merged in light, their minds joined, two souls, one flame. The glyphs locked into place. The bond was complete. And the final reaction began. A beam of energy shot from the temple into the sky, straight into the crack in space. The darkness screamed, loud and furious, trying to escape, but it was too late. The bond had triggered the gate of flame. Every shadow that poured out was pulled back in. The tear began to close. The sky turned bright. The darkness sucked into the seal. And then, silence. The portal vanished. The darkness was gone. Later, the battlefield lay quiet. Council ships had fallen back. Zeri knelt beside Kyle, who now lay still, the mark on his chest fading into soft light. She held his hand tightly. Please, open your eyes. Kyle blinked, then smiled. Still here. Tears filled her eyes. You did it. We did it. All around them, the land felt clean. Alive. The bond hadn't destroyed them. It had saved everything. In the weeks that followed, the story of Kyle and Zeri spread across the stars. Some feared them, some worshipped them, but none could ignore them. Because now, every world knew the truth. The bond was real. The flame had returned, and if darkness ever rose again, so would they.